Hello everybody, and welcome back to another game of Rory Story Cubes, where we tell a bunch of stories based on a bunch of cubes that we get. I'm reaching down for the bag, that's why I was a little bit away from the microphone a moment now ago. I'm gonna grab the first 9. Once again, we're gonna take 3 turns, grab 9 dice, roll them, and then see what we get. Let's see how much we have here. 4, 6, 7. 2 more dice to go. Ooh, a hard one this time. It's not even Valentine's Day. What are you doing? Right, there's them. Okie dokie. So, I'm gonna roll these, and once I'm done rolling them, I'd like you to pause the video and take a look at what I've rolled and come up with your own story, which you can post in the comment section below. Meanwhile, I'll be trying to come up with my own stories, and let's see what I can get from these 9. Here is a bouncing ball, a wasp's nest, or a bee's nest. The elephant's back, he's been gone for a while. Here's the wolf. I'm going to put you guys out of the way a little bit. There you go. And now the next 5. There. Medusa is back. And here's a fingerprint. Here is a amulet, I guess. Here's an axe. Over there, like that would be better. And some DNA. Well, we've seen the DNA a few times already, I think. Pause the video here, like I said. Make up a story of your own based on these 9 dice and then post it below so I can read it. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a look what I can do with these guys. There once was a Medusa. I'm just going to put these guys over here a little bit so I have a bit of space. There was a Medusa, and she didn't actually like being a Medusa because if people looked at her at all, she turned them to stone. Not that she wanted to, but it was one of those things that just happens, you know. Like some people, they walk down the streets and they automatically get like rejections from people that they weren't even interested in. And this is the type of person that she was, based on what she was, not really who she was. And one day, she had a bit of an incident with people playing tennis while a little distance away from them. The ball came bouncing into the forest, and she was like, what's this? This bright yellow thing, I've not seen this before. Apparently she had wandered close to a country club, and the people there went looking for the ball, and they found her instead, and then they instantly turned into statues, which is the usual thing what happened. And the other guy came to see where his friend was. He also turned into a statue because, well, Medusa was there. Let's see. Now, she now, of course, knew there were a lot of people around, which made her a little bit cautious. At the same time, though, she wanted to turn into something else because she didn't want to turn people into stone anymore. So what she did was she took the shirts off of one of these guys. I mean, the creatures, the people had turned to stone, but not their clothes. In this particular case, it's a special type of Medusa, okay? Usually when I see depictions, everything turns to stone, even though the clothes don't actually look at Medusa, but still, that's another thing. An issue for another day. So she took the shirt off one of them and she put it over her head so that people couldn't see the snakes, because that was apparently the thing that was turning her people into stone, the people who saw her. And she tried cutting them off once before, but they would just grow back, so it wasn't like she was able to rid herself of the problem and become a snake person in society. That was unfortunately not possible. So, she put a shirt over her snake head and she went into the country club, and of course people there were a little bit snooty and they weren't quite sure what to do with her, so most of them just ran away or went home. Some of them complained to the management, and others filed a petition. Either way, she wasn't turning anybody to stone, which was fine by her. She decided to go and find somebody who could maybe help her out, and one of the country club members turned out to be a scientist, and he was very interested in her. He said, why don't you come to my lab and I'll help you out. And she said, okay, that sounds good. That's the best offer I've ever had. So she follows him home, and he puts her in a tank, not like a fish tank or anything, just a like containment tank, so that she wouldn't sneak up on anybody unawares. And the first thing he did was he hung a wasp's nest in the corner of her tank, because he figured that maybe the sting of the bees would counteract the poison or whatever it was that was causing the snakes to grow back. He had no idea what it was really. He had done some blood tests on her, but nothing really turned up that he could use. So I figured, why not start with something like a lot of people are allergic to bees, so maybe the snakes are too? No idea, probably not. Anyway, so she had quite an annoying experience with a bunch of bees that were trying to sting her because she was supposed to hit the nest, which she did in the name of science. and it didn't help her get rid of the snakes or anything like that. So the next thing they did was, well, of course he tried cutting them off after the bee stings because he wanted to know if maybe, even though they didn't die immediately, they would stop growing back, and that wasn't the case. That was unfortunate, but he did take the cut off snake heads to investigate them further, and he wanted to see if they had like unique identifying patterns or anything like the snake skin, if that had a unique pattern to it, maybe like compared to other skins, their own fingerprints, but then in snake style. And he found that they were not exactly familiar to anybody who knew anything about snakes. They were really unique Medusa snakes. So, well, the next thing he wanted to do was he wanted to take some DNA from her, which he did, and he froze it in a capsule, which he sent to one of his faraway colleagues who worked in Africa. Oops, not with pills, although it would have been nice. Let's see. So, the guy in Africa who was riding elephants, because I needed to use that dice somehow, investigated the DNA that was in this pendulum, or frozen block of ice, and he sent a few more possibilities back. And one of the possibilities was that he could try getting her bitten by a specific type of wolf that was in Russia or around Moscow. No idea why. He didn't really explain why, but the guy was really good with animals, so he knew, like, okay, if you get this wolf around and she gets bitten by them, something in her saliva will help her shed her snake skin and the snakes on her head. And so she was put into a tank with a bunch of wolves, and she didn't really like that very much, but okay, it's in the name of science. We're gonna give this a shot. And she had to hit a few of them with a stick, because she still had a stick from the beehive, and a few of them actually started to attack her, which wasn't very much fun. But the scientists made sure to sedate them shortly after they had bitten her, so that they wouldn't actually tear her to pieces, which would have been a bit counterproductive. And sure enough, after a while, the snakes in her head started to fall off. And he wasn't quite sure what the African doctor had done, or what he saw in the DNA evidence in the frozen block that he had sent them, but for whatever reason, he knew exactly what the treatment needed to be. And of course, scientists asked if there were any other Medusas that she was aware of that maybe that could be cured like this. Of course, she still was a snake person with a bald head now, but we could buy wigs, and the snake thing, I don't know, maybe it could be a talk show host. I don't know. Either way, so she was happy that she wasn't turning people to stone anymore, and she could just walk around, do her thing, or slither around, I suppose. And that was a happy end of sorts, even though she was still a pariah in society because nobody else has a snake body. She could walk among the booing people without turning them to stone, which was a great relief. So that was the first story. I'm going to put these guys away over here where you can't see them. You'll never see them again. I'm going to go grab the next 9 dice. And there you go. Well, let's see what we get now. Could be the first 9. Let's see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There you go. That's all the ones we need. And I'm going to go grab these and roll them. There. It was a tough combination, that first 9. You could notice I was really struggling to put everything in place, or in play rather. We managed it somehow, though. Here there's this person laughing, and this is a galaxy. Here's a rain cloud. There's somebody with measles or some type of illness. There's a file or a folder. And this is somebody carrying something away, like he stole something. And this is a wooden puppet. This is something underneath a grate of some sort, and a bridge, like a dungeon over there. Do you see that? Okay, so make sure to pause the video here and make a story out of this if you can, and then post that story below so I can read it and other people can read it. And I'd like to see your stories, so make sure to do that. I mean, I don't mind if you just play along and decide not to post it, but it is fun for me to read them sometimes. Alright, now let's take a look what I can do with this guy, or these guys. Well, it's fairly obvious, I guess. To start with, let's see now, this. Oh, the other way around might be handier. I keep doing it like that, so why not continue to do it like that? A police file. Somewhere in the basement, where nobody really ventured. It's starting to look a little bit like the story we had a few weeks ago with the intern being sent down into the basement to go grab a file, which was missing. But it was, well, it's actually kind of a similar situation, because there was indeed somebody who wanted to be a real cop. This one. And his co-worker said, well, if you want to be a real cop, then you gotta go and take a file from the dungeon and solve it somehow, because that's how you become a real cop. So he took this file out from the dungeon, which was actually amazingly easy compared to some previous attempts done by other people. And he read it, and it turned out to be about a burglar who lived in a far, far away place. And it was an area which was fairly bad, like weather, and it was like very rough terrain, and people got sick there regularly. But he said, you know what, if I want to be a cop and I want people to stop laughing at me, I'd better go and do it. So he grabbed the file, and he went on his way, and he had to cross many bridges to get to the area where the thief was supposed to be. And due to the rain, his wooden joints and all that sort of thing started to get a little bit moldy. As you can see, he's made out of wood. That's it's like Pinocchio, but then different. But he would go wherever he needed to go in order to get his policing license and for people to stop laughing at him. So he went across the bridge, and it took him a while, and there was a lot of bad weather, etc., etc. There were even some creatures hidden away that were a little bit scary, but eventually he got to the guy, and he said, please, sir, I'm trying to become a real cop here. Could you please turn yourself in? That'd be much appreciated, thanks. And he's like, oh, well, you seem like a nice guy. I'll tell you what, I'll turn myself in on one condition. And he says, what's that condition? Well, if you can find a cure for my measles over here, I'll turn myself in. And he's like, oh, measles, well, that's easy enough, I guess. So he walks all the way back, all the way through the bad weather and all that sort of thing, and past all the monsters that were bothering him, and they were still bothering him on the way back. And he asked his co-workers where the nearest pharmacy was, and he went and got something that would cure the measles. There we go. And so he walked all the way back to the guy, through the bad weather, and with the monsters and all that sort of thing, until he found the guy again, and he gave him the medicine. He's like, okay, here you go, here's the medicine. He's like, oh, thanks, that helps save my measles, I suppose, or remove them, rather. I'm not even sure what type of medicine you would give for measles. I think the last time I had measles, I was like 8, and all they told me was to stay in bed. I don't know. Well, anyway, so maybe you just gave him some vitamin C. What the hell does he know? According to this guy, his measles were cured by this magical, I was going to say robot. I'll call him a doll. You're a doll, kid. So eventually the measles were cured, and he was happy, and he went along with him across the bridge and through the bad weather, past the monsters and all that sort of thing, and to the guys who had the file, and they were like, yep, that's him. We're so glad you found him at long last. And now you're a real cop. So now he's Pinocchio the first. I had to really quickly come up with a name there. It wasn't very good. Still, he was Pinocchio #1, and he was, well, the best Pinocchio they ever had, because they never had one before. So, other than that, it was also a fairly decent placement. So that was that story. I'm going to put these guys aside as well. There you go. There you go. Up over there. Next 9 dice. Oops. They're on the floor. Otherwise, they make too much noise. Let's see if we can grab 9 of them. Somewhere down here. What about this bunch? Is this 9? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One too many, as a matter of fact. Is that a flute? I think so. There. Alright, let's roll these 9 and take a look what we've got to work with. First 4. A map. A bunch of scales. A magnet thing. Yeah, magnet. And somebody with a hat on and a cloak. An imp. We haven't had an imp in a while. An airplane. A guy with a club. Some bandito and a dice. Well, that's nice. A dice with a dice on one side. Alright, so pause the video here to make sure, or at least take a look at these dice, come up with your own story. Post it below, I'd like to read it. We're going to take a look what we've got over here. Well, there was, once upon a time, an international crime organization. There you go, there's number 1 and number 2. And they traveled all across the world to find the best places to steal stuff from. And they even managed to get into like a magical realm where they stole some valuable goods from a guy with a gigantic club, a cyclops as a matter of fact. And then they took a gamble and they went for an imp next, who was actually more difficult to steal from because the imp had all of his stuff hidden inside of a magical cache, and they needed to answer a bunch of questions in order to get the access to the stuff. And when they couldn't answer all the questions, they used a gigantic magnet to pull the door open anyway, because it was actually hidden by an iron door instead of something magical, protected by a magical spell, but still the magnet was stronger than the magic, unfortunately for the imp, and so they managed to grab his stuff as well. Then they traveled all around until they got caught one day, and then they had to appear before justice, and justice was served, because they had enough evidence on these guys to lock them away for a long time, unfortunately for them. And as justice would have it, sometimes things go a little bit strange, and they got locked up in the same cell as these two guys, who of course had all of the jail sentence worth of time to torment the two thieves to make sure they never stole again. In actuality, they were locked up for 3 years, so it took them 3 years to realize that they would never steal again. But at least they knew where all the best vacation spots now were, so when they came out of jail, they started their own little travel company, and people could book flights with them and have a great time someplace else, in great magical places where no one had ever been before, aside from these two. So that was them. Thieves turned to travel agents. Hope you like that. It kind of came out of nowhere for me as well. Doesn't matter, that's how this game works. So, I hope you enjoyed the stories. I hope you come up with some great stories yourself. I'm going to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, and bye-bye for now.